everybody, and welcome to the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alec Berta. That's Matt Morrison here on the Wednesday edition of the show on your sports network. Hope everyone is having a good week so far. It's a rainy Wednesday day, but hopefully, Matt, where this rain is going to set up for hopefully some clear skies this coming Friday for some high school playoff football. Matt, I'm looking towards the temperature on what Friday they're saying is going to be. We're looking at 7 p.m. for those kickoffs, about 52 degrees, and it's going to be dropping to 47 by the time it gets to 9 o'clock.
Oh, I'm breaking out the Carhartt.
You're breaking out the Carhartts. So just be aware, keep an eye on the weather if you're going to games this weekend. If it's too cold for you, you don't want to deal with that, your game's too far away, you don't want to drive, well, you're on the perfect website for that. We'll have all of your playoff games going on this Friday.
Well, talking about people that gotta watch it, but we gotta work. We gotta go.
You get all those games for $9.99. It's one purchase, you get all the games. So if you can't get out there, or you just want to, if you're at a game and you want to say, hey man, I want to watch as many as possible, you can do that. Just pay the one price. You get all the games on the network. It's going to be an exciting opening week. A lot of teams. We're going to begin talking about that on tomorrow's show as Mike Wolfgang rejoins us. And then I'll finish things out on Friday, talking about just what will be some great playoff matchups. I think we got a lot of teams this year, Matt, that can make a serious run. It's all going to come down to these matchups, though, in the first round.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a heavy first round. Like, you're going to see a lot of runaways, but you're also going to see some tough games. I was talking to some people yesterday about the Ridge game. I mean, they're talking to me, Matt, can they beat, Central Catholic? Canton Central Catholic. Like questions like that. And, I've been getting them a lot because, they know who I work for. And I'm like, I don't know. Playoffs, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Like on paper, yeah. A lot of teams should win, but this ain't on paper.
I've also been told from back home that this weekend's Ursuline game is going to be epic this coming week. So we're going to make sure we talk about that game because Ursuline obviously coming in with a pretty high seeder. Maybe not this one, but potential next week. I think it's the potential upcoming matchup. It would either be Talmadge. My mom knows one of the coaches over in Talmadge, and they're both on the same bracket. I've been told that game is going to be fairly epic if that comes to a clash, which hopefully it shall. So we get some really good games on the network. But obviously, not this opening round. Ursuline's got Hawken this week. That should be a win for them. But we'll talk about that on Thursday. Now we got to talk about some of these volleyball teams on the network that have really made some strong performances. Teams now eyeing up regional championships. We're into the regionals. Had some regional semifinals last night. So why don't I go ahead and start this thing out, talk about some of these brackets. We're going to go Division 4 and work our way down. So starting off Division 4 in the Columbiana sectional district. Pardon me, not regional finals. This is district finals. We have our first district final matchup coming up tomorrow. Western Reserve, the 2 seed, will take on Canton Central Catholic. The 5 seed, Western Reserve, took down Southern in last night's matchup. 4 sets, they won it. And you have to look at that game and you look at Western Reserve, and they've been very impressive. Only 1 set loss so far in their 2 games in the postseason. Dominant performance against Wyndham. Now they go out and they dominate Southern, who won in 5 sets against a lower-ranked Springfield in the sectional final. And it's really setting up a nice little run here for Western Reserve. And now you come in 5-seeded Canton Central Catholic, who's beaten Lordstown, Latonia, and Lake Center Christian. Outside of Lake Center Christian, Latonia and Lordstown were 22 and 23 seeds. Games they were expected to win, they did so. And then in the game against a 3-seeded Lake Center Christian last night, they came out with a 3-0 win. So obviously, this is going to be a big-time district final. Should be very exciting. Ultimately, though, Matt, I think Western Reserve has what it takes to pull this one out.
I think so, too. Western Reserve, I didn't get to call them this year, but I've seen a lot of good from them. So, I mean, I think they can pull it out too. I mean, they're a pretty solid team. I mean, look at what they've been doing all year and where they're at now. Yeah, I think they can keep on trucking.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough opponent, sure, but they've weathered the storm this season, and in my opinion, to get one of those 2, 3, 1 seeds, to get one of those higher seeds in these volleyball playoffs was extremely difficult. I mean, we had 1, 2 lost teams that were placed as 4 or 5. So to see this Western Reserve team maintain this high level of play in the postseason with an already impressive resume behind them, I think it only kind of boasts the confidence that you would have in this team to continue this push and continue their run towards a potential state title appearance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's the district championship tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Western Reserve, Canton Central Catholic. In the Brooklyn district, YSN's teams were eliminated last night as Matt, your kinsman Badgers, go on an epic run, but they fall short in the district semifinal. They get swept by Elyria Open Door Christian in 3 sets. Kind of a surprise to see them go down in that fashion. Such a strong season for them. They had wins over Oberlin and Richmond Heights in the first 2.
Yeah, Richmond Heights.
And now here you get 3 rounds in. Fatigue hit them a little bit, I think, as they were just unable to keep it up with EODC.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I've seen from Badger, I mean, they play really good against teams that shouldn't have fight back. And I've seen some games over the past month or so against, in specifics, the Camel game. Camel showed up and they tested them, and Badger couldn't react to it that much, and sooner or later it's going to catch up with you, and it did here.
Yeah, it's a shame to see him go down because this was a 2 seed. I mean, I think everybody wanted to see another matchup between
St. John's.
and St. John's. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did. Oh yeah.
Well, St. John made it. Elyria Open Door Christian eliminated Badger, so they will take on a district championship tomorrow night. In the Lisbon side of Division 4, still have a couple YSN teams alive as the Trojans fell to Wellsville last night. That game was on the network, so if you caught it, you caught a 3-set victory from Wellsville. They took the first set 25-16, 25-14 on the second, and then 25-16 on the third. It was an overall dominant performance from them. But, on the other side of this bracket, they're going up now against the McDonald team in the district final that is coming off an impressive win over Dalton. They won in 4 sets, 25-23 in the first. They lost the second, 19-25, won the last 2, 25-15 and 25-22. Now, McDonald, Matt, they haven't had the hardest road outside of that Dalton game. I don't know how well they're going to be prepared for a team like Wellsville, who, again, really hasn't had a hard opponent. They haven't played anybody a 10 seed or higher so far in the postseason. Sebring was a 12, and that's the highest seed they've played. So I think maybe 2 teams coming in, maybe a little inexperienced at this point for those big-time matchups. I think it should provide an interesting game between the 2. Obviously, they've both had very strong seasons, both finished inside the top 10 in YSN's power rankings, and were both teams we kind of expected to get to this point. They have done so. And no one really stood in their way. We broke down these brackets before the tournament started. We put together a Wellsville McDonald District Championship. That's how it ends up here in the Lisbon District. I like Wellsville to continue their amazing season and beat down McDonald, but I got a strong feeling this goes 4 or 5 sets.
Yeah. A lot of these playoffs, you're going to see 4 or 5 sets. When you see a match, you can just tell, oh yeah, this isn't going to be an easy sweep. You can just tell, and this match here is definitely one of them.
Down to Division 3, Orwell District semifinals going on tonight as Lakeview will be taking on Crestview. I mean, what a huge game this is going to be. Lakeview comes off a 3-set sweep of Poland, a 3-set sweep of Grand Valley. Crestview comes off a 3-set sweep of Waterloo and Beechwood. So neither team has lost here in the postseason. Crestview barely lost in the regular season. They were perfect for the first, 2.5 months. They finally started dropping some in the late stages, but this is setting up a really phenomenal district semifinal. In all reality, this game could be a state championship with how good both of these two teams are.
Yeah, Lakeview. I didn't get to see Crestview, but I mean, you don't have to see Crestview to. I know you did. You don't have to see Crestview to know that they are one heck of a team. And then Lakeview. I mean, I did see them. They took down Mineral Ridge, who only had one loss at the time. They took them down in 3 sets. I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they have height. There's some tall girls on that team that are like they're everywhere. They have speed. They have the jumps. Oh my gosh, they're everywhere. Lakeview is going to give Crestview a test. We get the views. The views.
Battle the view. Who's got the better view? That's the question. Crestview or Lakeview? I don't know.
No, it's going to be back and forth.
Lakeview does overlook the lake though. So
yeah. Well, no, they don't.
They're close enough. No, they're high school, but I mean, you can walk up to the lake.
Yeah, it's close. Mosquito Lake. It's just down the road.
Yeah, but Matt, I think you look at Crestview this season and just how impressive they've been in total. I mean, outside of the 2 losses to Girard and Fitch, who were higher seeds, higher divisions than Crestview, they only lost once in their season play, and it came to a 20-3 East Liverpool, who they still only allowed a singular set to. So against opponents that they are on a similar playing field or similar division, they have been outright dominant this season, and I don't think that's going to change. I was calling Crestview early on throughout this season as one of my favorites to make a deep run. I'm going to stand by that here. I like the Rebels to take down the Bulldogs. Yeah,
I mean, they're going to be tough here. I'm going to go Lakeview on the side. I saw one heck of a team, and if anybody can take down Crestview, I think it could be Lakeview. A lot of great players. The one that really stood out to me though was Tara Little. Oh my gosh, she's 6 foot, man. She is everywhere. I'm like, holy cow! Like, look at their. I mean, they got 5'9", 5'9", 6 foot, 5'7", 5'10". Like there's 5'8". Like there's some tall girls on this team that are just like you can't get it past them. Ridge tried to hit it up and over them, and they just. Like they were right there the whole time. It was insane, and they kept Ridge on their toes. Like they move quick too. They don't just use
boasts a lot of that height too, so it should be a fun battle to
yeah.
Well, Matt, the winner of this one takes on the winner of Kirtland and Mineral Ridge, the second of the 2 games in the district semifinal in the Orwell district. Ridge is still alive. They have pulled off 2 sweeps over Brookfield and Wycliffe in the first 2 rounds. Kirtland eliminated Champion in what has been their only postseason matchup thus far. So bit of some short rest for them coming in here. Haven't had to play a lot. They've had a lot of time off. You almost wonder, though, have they had too much time off? I mean, they've basically played once in the last 2 weeks. So part of it, they're definitely well rested in terms of, playing. They've obviously practiced a lot, but I almost wonder, are you going to have that game time rust from not having played very much in the last 2 weeks? I mean, this is a sport much like baseball. You basically play every day. There's some weeks where there was 4 games a week for some of these teams, but they were averaging, 2 to 3. So for them not to have played that kind of schedule down here late, I almost wonder, is it going to take a toll when they have to go up against what will be a very physical Mineral Ridge team in this district semifinal? Yeah. I think because of that, Ridge, they haven't had to play in a couple of days, so they're going to be well rested, but they had 2 games a week ago, and now they don't get the early matchup, so they get like a day off in what would be the schedule, so basically, a bye day. But I think they're just coming in. They have the momentum. They've been playing more frequently. I think I kind of like Mineral Ridge to take this game.
I do. I'm rolling with the Ridge. I mean, I think they can take down Kirtland. Very good team. They're good in all their sports, though. So you can't win everything. Go Ridge.
Yeah, well, Kirtland's 21-2. They have been phenomenal this season, including holding a win over Lakeview, who's on the other side of this district semifinal. So, you talked about Ridge in 3 sets. Kirtland with 5 sets against Lakeview.
Yeah, I know Ridge would love to see Lakeview again too, because I don't think they took that sweep very lightly.
I don't know how you can. I mean, that's about as one-sided as it gets.
Yeah.
For what was supposed to be such a high-profile match, if it goes that way, I think it kind of surprised everybody, including those at Ridge. So I agree with you, Matt. I think they're looking to get back there. I do like Ridge because I think I'm taking Ridge here just because of such the long break that Kirtland's had to have in this tournament. I mean, they did play 4 days ago, but I mean, like I said, one game in the last 2 weeks, it definitely impacts, how you play a game. So we'll see how they do. But I like a Crestview Mineral Ridge District Championship here in the Orwell.
Oh, yeah.
I'm also in Division 3, Medina District. South Range tonight is going to go up as an 11 seed after pulling off a 3-0 sweep against LeBray. They've pulled off 2 upsets so far, Matt. They went up as an 11 over the 9 Columbiana, 1-4. They beat the 8 LeBray in 3, and now tonight they take on the number 1 seed in the Medina District. As an 11 seed, they've made the run to the district semifinal, and they've given themselves the opportunity. Now they just have to close it out and give themselves what would be a really good shot at a district championship, because on the other side, we'll talk about it in a second, it's a 6 versus a 7 seed over there. So I do like the winner of this side's chances to potentially make it to regionals.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one. I mean, one heck of a team there. Like this whole thing's filled with teams that can make runs. So,
looking up Menor Lake Catholic's volleyball schedule at the moment. So they're 21-2. They've had 10 set losses this season, including a 3-0 sweep of Kirtland earlier in the year. South Range at 13-11. Matt, it's been an improbable run for them here in the postseason. I mean, it was not the greatest of regular seasons, but they're getting it done. They're managing everything in front of them. And, you look throughout the year, you look at the losses. West Branch, Jefferson, Girard. Poland got the best when Poland was doing really good early in the year. Lakeview in the playoffs. They're in the district semifinal. Boardman, a Division I school. Jefferson, East Liverpool. Girard again. Lakeview. I mean, the losses were not bad for South Range, and I think it has prepared them well. They remind me of, I'll say, Mooney basketball this past winter. And, average through the regular season, they took on some big opponents they lost. They got in the postseason and went on a deep run. I think that's kind of what these Raiders are doing. However, I have them coming to a close tonight. It's been a fun little run for them. Back-to-back upsets. It's hard to pull 3 straight.
Yeah, it is.
Against a team this good who dominated their last opponent in Ravenna Southeast. Granted, a not great Southeast, but they only allowed Southeast to get 10 points in a set once in the 3-0 sweep they had a couple nights ago. So going up against South Range, it's a mismatch for certain. I don't particularly love South Range's chance in this. I'm not saying it's out of the equation, but it's definitely not going to be a game that is in their favor in any stretch.
No, it's not.
So I'm taking Menor Lake Catholic. On the other side, Matt, Burton Berkshire, the 6 seed, taking on Garfield, the 7 seed. Garfield yet to lose a set so far in the postseason. They got close last time as Osborne closed in the last 2 sets, 25-22 and 25-23. But they hold on, don't have to play any extras. And again, this is a team that has played now. This will be the 3rd matchup for Garfield. Berkshire has played just once. They won 3-1 over a very impressive Campbell, who won the first set but couldn't grab any others in their matchup last week. Personally, I do like Garfield coming in. I saw them during the regular season. I thought they were very impressive. I like them to take on Berkshire, and then we'll see them against Lake Catholic coming up this Saturday on the 29th at 7 p.m. That's the matchup I favor here for the district championship in Medina.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I mean, they've had a pretty good type of run here. Who was this? Who are they playing again?
Berkshire and Garfield.
Yeah, Garfield. You caught them on the year. I've been keeping up with them. I mean, they're very physical type of team. They got speed on that team too. I've seen. So yeah, I'll go Garfield here too.
Yeah. Well, they beat my Leopards in 3 sets in Pete Pro Cup court. So, they've been pretty good all season long, and I like them here against Berkshire.
Mm-hmm.
But, I must say, though, quite the drive for all these teams to be playing in the Medina district. I mean, Canfield, Menor, Burton, and Garrettsville. I mean, I think Garrettsville is probably the closest, and I think it's still a 25, 30-minute drive to Medina.
It is.
It's quite the hike for all these teams. We'll see maybe if the bus ride becomes a factor in these matchups.
That's good.
I think it very well could. Down in Division II volleyball now, the Jefferson District, couple teams still alive as Ashtabula Edgewood, a 13 seed. The improbable Edgewood Warriors as they beat Struthers and Ursuline so far here in the postseason. Now take on Marlington. And Matt, much like South Range, the improbable run for Edgewood is going to come to a close against a very talented Marlington volleyball team.
Marlington volleyball is a different level of volleyball. Like, they are one heck of a team. I've been hearing about them all year, believe me. So, I mean, I've been keeping up with them as well. So, I mean, I expect them to have an even bigger run here, not only to win this game, but to win a couple more. Marlington volleyball. Whew.
Yeah, it's something here. I like Marlington. They've been playing really
fantastic. Like 10-0 in the conference. Like, it's different. It's a different breed of volleyball down there there in Alliance. All Alliance volleyball.
Well, on the other side of this bracket,
football, but not so much with Marlington football, but their volleyball team has always been pretty good.
Well, Matt, on the other side of this bracket, Girard, the 1 seed, having won games against Cheney and Niles their last 2 times out, take on Aurora tonight, who upset Howland in the last matchup in 3 sets. They also beat a 10-seeded West Geauga in 4 sets in the first round. This Aurora team, they've had a tough road to get to where they are now. It definitely hasn't been an easy path for them. Girard, on the other hand, I mean, a 25 seed and 23 speeds kind of speaks for itself on the kind of level of competition they've had to play. They've played about as great as can be. I mean, against Cheney, they didn't allow the Cowboys to get more than 10 in a set. In fact, they didn't even allow more than 7, and Niles could only get 11 in each of the 3 sets. It was 25-11 all 3 times. Talk about consistency there. Like, dang. I mean, Girard almost beat Cheney by the same amount in every single set, and then they do it to Niles. Very consistent Girard team. I like the Indians here over Aurora. I mean, this is obviously a very talented Aurora team, but when you really look at what Girard has done this season, how can you not be impressed? I mean, Aurora's a 15-8 group. They've had that kind of hard schedule in there. I mean, you look at their losses. It's to Medina, it's Twinsburg, Copley, my alma mater, all playoff teams that have gone on to have some pretty nice runs. And I don't know for certain, but I know a couple of these teams they've lost to are still alive and well here in the postseason. So it has not been a bad year for them whatsoever. The Greenmen, so they call themselves. But Girard has just been on a whole nother level than most teams they've gone up against this season. And I think it's another reason why I like to see this nice run of theirs continue. Losses. It's Jefferson, Lakeview, and Gilmore Academy. It's not bad losses. They've only done it 3 times.
Yeah, they beat some pretty good teams too, Crestview included. So
right.
Girard,
I like a Girard Marlington set up here in the championship. Yeah. Much kind of like what we were pulling for. I mean, I think we had Ursuline going down to Marlington instead of Edgewood, but Marlington Girard is kind of the way this bracket was set up to finish out. It's how it's likely going to. I think both teams have been so strong this year, it's kind of hard to pull against them. So that's the way it's going to go. Matt, I still like Girard, though, to take and go to regional.
Oh, yeah.
Also in Division II here for Streetsboro, NDCL will take on Canfield tonight, a 6 p.m. matchup. Matt, I'm tired of saying Chardon NDCL, so I'm going Canfield in this one because I'm just tired of saying the other team. We've called them way too much here on the network in the last couple of weeks. They've been getting a little too much attention. Say bye-bye to them. Cardinals are going to move on.
Oh, yeah. Canfield.
I don't even want to break this game down.
Even though they're 16-7, I'll break it down. Even though Canfield's 16-7, they're scrappy. I like some of the wins they've had on the year. They were 6-2 in their conference, and yeah, I'm sick of hearing of that other team too. As soon as my schedule was, there we go. But I mean, they played some tough teams on there too. I mean, they had a Girard and Archbishop Hoban on there that they lost to. So I mean, their losses. I mean, Ridge is on there as a loss too. So and Fitch. So I mean, they lost to Lakeview too. So they know how to play tough teams. Well, I mean, they know what it's like to play against tough teams. So I don't know, 16-7, 16-8 with Perry. They're both pretty evenly matched, in my opinion. And Canfield beat them 3-1. So I'd say they keep moving on here. I got Canfield too.
Go Cards. On the other side of it, YSN matchup. Jefferson is the 5 seed. West Branch as the 6.
West Branch.
Yeah, I don't know. I really do like both teams.
I do too.
Coming in here, I think this is going to be really close for you just to go right away with West Branch.
Whew. They're good, man. They're good.
A hard call.
Yeah.
You know, you went opposite of me earlier in the Crestview Lakeview matchup, so I'm going to go opposite you here in this one. I'll take Jefferson over West Branch. I don't really have a ton to back this up, but you know, the one game they've played in the postseason, they got a sweep over an 18-seed Alliance. West Branch went 4 sets their last time out against a 15-seed Geneva. And obviously Geneva, you know, good sports up there. But for them to have that extra set in there against a team they definitely shouldn't have, I think it opens the door. Jefferson can claim some momentum and potentially get this thing done.
I like that decision, but yeah, I think West Branch could, like, they're too confident in themselves. They can get upset, and I think Jefferson would be the team to do it. So if it happens, it's going to happen here.
In Division I, we saw the end of Austintown Fitch's great season as they fell to Hudson in 5 sets in last night's matchup. And we're still one final check, make sure we didn't miss anybody. But that, I believe, is going to do it. Lakeside season also came to a close. Their 10-seed run was shut down by Riverside in 4 sets last night out. But that does it for our high school volleyball. Some great matchups coming up this weekend out of it. What's that?
I know we're going to jump into what? Are we going to college football next?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, but I want to talk a little high school here since I won't be on. Right, but literally I'm in Mineral Ridge all week pretty much, and they're all like, Matt, how's Ridge going to do? And I presented the fact to them that, you know, Valley Christian could end up playing Mineral Ridge if Ridge goes on a run. Like, they'd have to beat Mogador next if they get past Canton Central Catholic. And then, you know, Valley, you could pretty much see Valley there. I mean, they play Trinity, and then, I mean, most likely Cuyahoga Heights, and we all know we want to see that. I'm still trying to decide if they present that option to us, if I come to Boardman with you or go down to Dalton and see Brookfield. I don't know. Because I told them I'd follow Brookfield. If Brookfield ends up playing Kirtland, I'll go anywhere. Like, I gotta call that game. But I don't know. I've been calling Valley too. I'm on that side too, so I'd like to call a couple of their games too. Like, you know, so if Ridge and Valley meet up, that's gonna be one heck of a battle. Which, I mean, a lot of them here said they'd love to see Andy come back and, you know, play Ridge, and if a lot of them want Valley to beat Ridge. And they're all from here because if it's Andy. That's what they were all saying. And
you're saying Mineral Ridge natives are pulling for Valley to beat their own team.
Andy Hake. Because everybody knows
Hake has made those War Eagles Youngstown's team, man. It's crazy the culture change that they put in over there.
It took them 2 seasons, well, 1 season pretty much. They put them in the playoffs after 1 year being there. Before that, they weren't even worth mentioning. They weren't. And here comes Andy Hake. Boom. Just like that.
Right. And you know, sometimes when it comes to that coaching, Matt, it's not necessarily that they're great coaches when it comes to play calling. They're just really great at getting the best out of their players. And I think that's what it's really come down to. Because obviously, I mean, there are some superstar talents on this football team that Andy Hake did not create. I mean, he didn't create a 6'4" monster of Jontrell Mixon. He didn't go create the best wide receiver in the Valley in Vashawn Gurley. But I think what he's really done has pulled the very best of their talents out and shown it on the field every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree with that.
These kids have realized their full potential.
I'm not going to go too much into it, but a lot of people were upset when they hired the coach at Ridge now and not Andy. A lot of them wanted Andy there.
How could you not? I mean, you're local native, former do-it-all guy at your school.
I'm not going to go too much into it, but I don't know. I don't see him leaving Valley, though. I don't see him. I don't know.
Not at this point. He's made these kids buy in. I don't see it.
Oh, yeah. I'd be almost upset if he left Valley to come to Ridge. I'd be almost upset. I would.
I mean, I think it's understandable. He lives next door to the stadium.
Yeah. Oh, he's right down the road. Like,
right. He would be running to the game every night.
Oh, yeah.
Which I would not be surprised just to see him running down the road going to the game.
I see him. I could see him. But all right.
All right. You want to bring this into some college?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and
all
do
right.
it.
Week 9 of our college football top 10s is voted on by myself, Matt Morrison, and Mike Wolfgang. You can see the full poll available now on our Twitter page as it's coming across right here. You can check that out as we come to a close here on the show. That'll go up at 3 o'clock as the show tunes out. But Matt, at number 10, following a loss, I'm still the only person that's put them in this week as they fell out of both yours and Mike's polls. It's the 6-1 UCLA Bruins, and I'll give my rationale here for this because it's definitely a team. They lose by 2 touchdowns, but they lost by 2 touchdowns to a top 25 opponent. And if you look at their schedule and the way it's played out over the last 3 weeks, this was their 3rd straight top 25 opponent. When they took on Washington, Washington was in the top 25. They won by a touchdown. Yeah. They beat a top, I think, 10 at the time, Utah by 10 points. Then they had to go into Oregon. I mean, by the time they got to this point of the schedule, I mean, it has been an exhausting grind for them. And despite the fact they lose here to Oregon, everything was spurred on by a massive second quarter. Oregon had 28 second quarter points, and they had just 14 in the second half. And I didn't see enough bad out of UCLA in this game to really rationalize, because I had them at 4 mainly. I dropped them from 4 to 9. I find it very hard to drop a team farther than 5 spots in any given week for a loss to another top 10 opponent, top 25, whatever it may be. So I found it very hard to completely take them out. Bo Nix had a historic game. He has never had as good of a game as he had here. And I think a big part of that goes to Pac-12's defense is not the SEC's defense. Yeah. Any given team in the SEC likely has a better defense than the majority of the Pac-12. But I still am of the opinion that this Bruins team is a very talented group that I would like to see playing in a New Year's Six bowl game at the end of the year. And I think they have the talent to do it, whether it's Zach Charbonnet, Jake Bobo, or DTR that's going to get them there. This is a very talented all-around team. And when they still have a matchup against the top 10 USC coming up on their schedule in the future, I still see this as a top 10 school. And with the win against USC in the Rose Bowl, they likely can set themselves up on trajectory to maybe get a home game at the Rose Bowl in the postseason, or otherwise, I still like them as a New Year's Six team. I think they've done it. I do too. And when we talk about New Year's Six teams, in my opinion, you have to start drawing from the top 10. That's why I left them in here. It was hard to drop them all the way. They still have a strong strength of schedule in recent weeks. That's why I left them in. I didn't want to make a ton of change-ups because I didn't think it was a week that we needed to see a lot of change-ups in the polls.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm looking out here at the college football rankings, and I don't think I've seen this in a while, that they actually had a tie for the 10 spot with USC and Wake Forest. Did you notice that? I'm pretty sure it's a tie because it's not at 11 next to Wake Forest. So in the coaches poll, there's a 10 and 11, but not in the AP. I don't know.
AP, there was a tie. I thought I saw that the other week. I thought it might have been a typo, but there you have it.
I guess it's a tie. I don't know. It goes 9, 10, 12. So, I mean, USC and Wake Forest, They're both 6-1. They're both, I guess, it's 927 points PTS. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
They're both tied up. So I just
and
thought
Matt, keep in mind, this is the final week the AP poll is even relevant.
I know.
Next Tuesday, college football playoffs, week 10, first poll comes out, and we'll get to see what the committee truly thinks is our top 25 teams. So expect kind of a turnaround from what you've seen in the last couple of weeks of the AP polls. And as that transitions over into the college football playoff poll, and now every game is magnified to the 10th because this will be the first week and that committee is coming together. They're watching these games, and I have a good inclination that Ohio State, Penn State is going to be the first game they're watching this coming Saturday.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to miss it because it's a noon game and I'm at work. I'm like, why is that a noon game? Let's talk about that. Why isn't that prime time? Why?
Fox. That's all Fox.
That's what is their prime time game? What's this look? What's their prime time?
World Series.
Okay.
That's who that I believe is their.
They don't have an off day Saturday because they played Friday.
I don't know. I thought that's what I saw was the reasoning.
Let's see.
Let me just double check here. So
I'm looking too.
29th. No, they play back to back.
Oh, geez.
Friday and Saturday. So that's the 8:00 game on Fox for this Saturday, I believe.
Oh, who cares about the Houston Astros?
Hey, no one wants to watch the World Series over Ohio State, Penn State. I am curious to see what the ratings will be in comparison for those two games.
I am too.
Because World Series, the numbers been dropping.
Phillies, man, that'd be sick to see Bryce Harper finally get a World Series. Like that's one of the guys that they're like he needs one. Mike Trout's another one, but Bryce Harper's there too. So.
Well, Matt, at number 9, it's a team that goes by OSU, but they go by the Cowboys, Oklahoma State. They make it in here. This is a team that has had, in my opinion, a season you look at with some question marks around it, right? I mean, the departure of Jim Knowles, their defensive coordinator, has definitely formed an impact on their ability to play defense. I mean, the 44 in week 1 to Central Michigan, 25 to Baylor, and what was a 10-point game, a 10-point win over Texas Tech. They lose it by 3 points to TCU, who hangs up 43. And now I'll say kind of a subpar Texas team still puts up 34. I must say, though, Quinn Ewers, when he's played, this Texas team falls along with them. This was by far his worst game. I mean, Oklahoma State's defense did really make him look bad. He went 19 for 49, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against this Oklahoma State defense. My problem with Oklahoma State has just been an utter lack of consistency, and maybe I'll like them a little bit better after Kansas State this weekend. I don't think I will, but Spencer Sanders, he can sling it, sure.
Yeah,
They had him throw it 57 times against Texas, and they completely lacked an efficient run game. I mean, Dominic Richardson had 3 rushing touchdowns, but he had 13 carries and just 24 yards. He's a red zone back. They don't have anybody that can open this thing up in the open field, and once they have to go up against any real defense, which I don't know when it's going to come, I don't like Oklahoma State's chances. They're kind of one of those teams on the outside of this top 10. I didn't put them in. I personally, my 9 and 10 was UCLA and Penn State. And I consider kind of Oklahoma State, Penn State kind of on that same level of just, I don't know. I like Penn State a little bit more. Oklahoma State, they just, when you look at it, Penn State doesn't have the win. Neither does Oklahoma State. Their best win is over Texas, who, I think was ranked. They shouldn't have been ranked. I don't know why the polls keep wanting to put them in here. Texas is not back. They're a subpar team. And I haven't seen anything out of Oklahoma State that really bodes to me that this is a team that should be in a New Year's Six bowl game.
Yeah, I think so too.
We're in the back half of the season. Everything's about bowl games and the playoffs now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm trying to find the name of that guy. What was his name?
What player?
The big tight end dude for Oklahoma State. What is his name?
Brennan Presley.
I don't know. But the dude's a truck. And he was jumping over people, was running over people. Look at his name.
You looking it up? Got anything?
Bugging me. It's bugging me. I can't find it. I can't find it.
Okay. We'll just go ahead and move on. Matt, sitting at number 8 in this week's polls. It's a team that had a really good win over a team that I like. It's the Ducks of Oregon pulling out all the stops, beating UCLA this past week. And again, I mean, Bo Nix looked impressive. It's their first really quality win since the loss at the beginning of the year and the dominant shutdown from Georgia. I'm still not 100% sold on this Ducks team. I like the win. But what have we always seen out of Bo Nix when he's played football? He has one epic performance, and then the next week he looks terrible. And they're going up against Cal this week, and Cal's a 3-4 squad. For whatever reason, I have a feeling that the Golden Bears are going to upset the Ducks this weekend. Because it's the roller coaster of Bo Nix, and it's what college football has come to expect. Whenever you feel like you can rely on Bo Nix to win a game, you will lose. That is the way it has gone. I must say, however, in the battle of mascots, I think that the Oregon Duck may have had a slight edge against Brutus after this past weekend shenanigans behind College Game Day set. He was quite entertaining, I must say. I would give the Duck a little bit of an edge over Brutus this past week.
Yeah, I would too.
I think Brutus is the classier of the two, but it's undeniable that Duck is entertaining.
He's wild.
I got Rick rolled by a Duck. He was holding up a QR code that popped up to Never Gonna Give You Up.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I fell for it. I also love the segment. The cheerleaders were holding him up on this platform. Normally the platform the ROTC guys are doing the push-ups on.
Yeah, it was
above the crowd. And he was sitting there with a College Game Day set of his own made out of cardboard going through papers. It was hilarious.
That's funny.
It was. Riding on the back of a motorcycle. I mean, he was he was always around.
Oh, yeah.
It was a great show. And then their football team lived up to the hype for the first time ever this season.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they finish out. They only really have one more competitive game when it comes up against Utah later in the year. So we'll see how they fare. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold because it's Bo Nix. And I expect to be disappointed by Bo Nix. At number 7, a team that I think has left us all wanting more this year, the Crimson Tide of Alabama. And, obviously, it's one loss. They have one loss on the year. And they dominated Mississippi State this week, who was a top 25 team that shouldn't have been. It's just feeding the SEC top 25 wins, despite the fact they shouldn't be ranked at all. But I think the Crimson Tide, they're a team we expect to perform well. They're going to at some point. I mean, this was a down game for Jahmyr Gibbs, who's been an absolute beast of a running back this year for Alabama, and they still win by 24 points. It's just, you look at Alabama this year, and it's definitely not the Alabama of Saban's older years.
Yeah.
It's still a good team. In the Saban dynasty is not dead. They're going to be, in contention for an SEC title. I mean, despite the loss, LSU's the second team in the SEC West. So Bama is going to be in the title game. And, I mean, Ole Miss and LSU come down to, those are the final two or next two games for Alabama that you're even looking at. Iron Bowl is not going to be a challenge for them this year. And if it is, shame on Alabama. But they're going to be in an SEC title game. And, whether they take on Tennessee for a second time or Georgia, they're going to have an opportunity to win because they're loaded with 5 stars. But I think you look at this team offensively and defensively, it's just it's been lackluster. Every time you look at them, it's just like they feel below Alabama's average, which is still better than 95% of the nation is below Alabama's average. Is still better than most of the nation. And that's been true this season. I mean, they're still dominating teams. I mean, they're still winning by, heavy margins, but I think you've seen it come out in the big games. Texas A&M and Tennessee so far. Those two big games, even Texas early in the year. I mean, Alabama won that game because Quinn Ewers got injured.
And they still barely beat them by 1. I think that Ole Miss or LSU, one of them's going to get them. One of them's going to get them.
I don't know. Saban gets his guys ready for those big games, though. You have to say that his play
It was a
calling
big game against
tends to
Tennessee.
work.
Like, they were ready. It just, they were ready. They still put up 49 points.
Yeah.
They lost 52-49. They still played one heck of a game.
And what does this defense do the next week? They hold Mississippi State to a touchdown. So they were definitely doing a lot of runs last week, and I'm sure that they're still running for that 52 allowed to Tennessee. I'm expecting a much better defensive performance these next 2
weeks.
They're
in Death Valley, too. They're going down.
It's a hard place to go into and play. I mean, you have to look at that as one of the top environments to go into in college football.
Absolutely. Whew.
But, Matt, our next team on here, it's hard to find a criticism against them. They have had a perfect season. It's the Horned Frogs of TCU.
Yeah,
I'm loving this so far. And,
they're so underrated. They're so underrated. Nobody's talking about them. Everybody's talking about Ohio State and Tennessee and Georgia. And everybody's like, what? Who's
rightfully so, Matt. Rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. But, I think people should be talking more about TCU than Clemson and Michigan.
Michigan, yes. Clemson, no. Clemson has 3 top 25 wins.
Okay.
That's the only reasoning there. But I mean, the only question mark on this schedule came back in week 3, over a month ago at this point, when it was a 1-touchdown game against SMU, who at the time everyone expected SMU to be good. They kind of haven't been. They've definitely fallen off. They're 3-4 at the moment. Not really a team you look back on and go, that's a good win for them. My only problem with TCU, man, they have to find a time to blow someone out. I hope it comes this weekend against West Virginia. They've been getting caught in dogfights these last 3 weeks. I mean, a touchdown over Kansas, 3 points over Oklahoma State, 10 points over Kansas State. These next couple of weeks, they need to get something back before they see Texas down on November 12th, which I think is really the only challenging game you look at left on the schedule. I mean, you got WVU and Iowa State, which are 2 of the worst teams, Texas Tech and Baylor, who are both, mid-tier 4 and 3 win teams. I like TCU at this point to kind of finish out undefeated. They've gotten past the meat and potatoes, right? Now you're on to dessert. We'll see them carve it up. And I think the biggest thing is going to come down to their strength of schedule when we go to talk about their chances at the college football playoff. I mean, if you have, in reality here, I'm going to put this out here. SEC has an opportunity for 3 teams in the playoff right now with Tennessee beating Bama. If Bama then goes and beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, well, Alabama's 1 loss, Georgia's 1 loss, Tennessee's no loss, and they beat the SEC champions. It's going to be very hard to put those 3 out. Likelihood is they're getting 2. It's almost a guarantee the SEC has 2 at this point, unless we see something turn around and Bama drops another game here in the final few weeks of the season. TCU could be kind of one of these teams that has a great season, maybe undefeated and a Big 12 champion, that might get left out of this poll, because you look at the end of the year, if Oklahoma State doesn't finish ranked, if Kansas State doesn't finish ranked, then you look back and you go, all right, those are 1-score games against non-ranked teams, which I think is maybe possible for Kansas State. And you even look at Kansas. Since that loss to TCU, they've lost now 3 straight games. They're 5-3. With every game Kansas plays, TCU's strength of schedule keeps going down. And that's what worries me. You look at the last half of the season, if they cannot start blowing some teams out, which we really haven't seen outside of the Oklahoma game and then their early season matchups against Tarleton State and Colorado, who both suck, I don't know what their chances are going to be for that college football playoff.
Yeah.
They should be, but I don't know if they will.
I don't know. We'll
at number 5, a team that still controls their own destiny, the Wolverines of that team up north. Matt, they beat your squad. They beat them handily.
A lot. Yeah.
The thing you think you continue to look at with that team up north is their ability to run the football. J.J. McCarthy is an average quarterback, but we've seen average quarterbacks get it done for this team for quite some time. They really haven't had a standout star since, I would say, Gardner back in the early 10s, when, I mean, that dude could just carve you up with his ability to run the football. They haven't had anybody that can take over a game in really quite some time at this program, and I think that's what's killed them really, especially once they get into bowl games against top 10 opponents. They just don't have a quarterback. I think it might burn them this year against Ohio State. But at the moment, I mean, they got Michigan State, Rutgers, and Nebraska coming up before Illinois and Ohio State the final 2 weeks. This should be an easy road, an easy couple of tune-ups. I don't think little brother's going to get him this time around. I know Harbaugh's had his struggles, but Mel Tucker has nothing going on over there. They control everything in front of them. I don't know how I feel about their final 2 matchups. They're going to get tested against Illinois and definitely against my Buckeyes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, Michigan – Penn State didn't show up on defense that game, and their offense, was bad. So, I mean, but this last week, Penn State really made a statement like, all right, we need to change things around. We can't have that same game like we did last week because Minnesota will come in and rip you apart if you let them. They've done it before. Pretty decent team. They're physical with you. Penn State ran on them. That's what they needed to do. They needed to blow out Minnesota. And I think that built up their confidence coming into this week against Ohio State. If Penn State would have won by like 7 or 10 points, I don't think it would have been hyped up as much coming into this week. I don't think I'd be like, all right, maybe there's a chance. If that would have happened, I'm like, they barely beat Minnesota. Yeah, no way.
Well, at number 14, that's put together a quite impressive schedule so far. Clemson, we didn't expect a ton out of the ACC, but now you look at it, they hold a top 10 win over Wake Forest. They hold a win over a top 25 NC State. They now hold a win over a top 25 Syracuse in a touchdown game this past week. Matt, I know there's definitely criticisms against this team and a severe lack of consistency at quarterback. And they even pulled
team around him to back him up.
What?
They have a good enough team around DJ to back them. To back
Will
him
Shipley,
up.
Put him in the Heisman conversation.
They bail him out. They do.
They do. And, they win this game by touchdown. He doesn't have a great day. But now they have Notre Dame coming up off of a bye week. So they'll play next Saturday.
Still Notre Dame, even though.
Right. They're not doing all that great. But if Notre Dame wins, then Ohio State looks a little better. I'll be pulling for the Irish to win that game. I'm not gonna lie.
Me too. I love Notre
But
Dame.
Clemson, they're in control right now of their destiny. They don't really have a game you look ahead of, and you go, I like them to lose that. I mean, Notre Dame and South Carolina. I don't know how South Carolina is ranked. They've sucked. It's just another SEC team getting some benefit. I mean, their last 4 wins: Charlotte, SC State, Texas A&M, who's mediocre to the 10th. By a touchdown, and then they upset Kentucky. And for whatever reason, this makes them a top 25 team. I don't agree with that. I mean, they're 2-2 in the conference. Seriously? No. But Clemson, they're looking good. I like them to finish out. At number 3, Matt, the Georgia Dogs. They've been playing good enough football to continue. They just had the little slip up there in the middle of the season where, they weren't looking like the Georgia we have come to expect out of them. They had a bye week, I should say, after the 55-0 shutout of Vandy. Now they play host to Florida in the Florida-Georgia game, so it should be good. Tennessee the week follows, Mississippi State after that, Kentucky after that. It's definitely a schedule. I think we're going to come to see what Georgia is. Bless you.
What was that? You cut out for a minute.
Oh, I was just saying, Georgia, they have a tough schedule coming up, but these next couple of weeks, we're going to see what they're really made of, and they got an opportunity to make it to the playoffs. Yeah,
they do. I mean, they're still my number 1 team. I think they're number 1 until they lose. They're the defending champs. They're still defending. I know last year's team probably would have ran on this year's team, but a lot of guys they lost on defense. But I mean, they're still stepping up. They're still winning big games. So, I mean, the Florida game's going to be big. Then they get Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then Kentucky. They have Mississippi State and then Kentucky. And Kentucky's always a scrappy team. They're not, a top-tier team per se, but they can still run on you. So, we're really going to see the Georgia team that we're going to see for the rest of the year against these last games, basically, besides Georgia Tech.
Well, Matt, talking about the team they're going up against here very shortly. Tennessee, the Volunteers come in at number 2 after just beating up on the likes of in-state FCS opponent, the Skyhawks, 65-24. They pulled their starters after one half in which they led 52-7. People want to criticize my Buckeyes for running up the score. This was a prime example of doing just that. I mean, I think you look at this, and their second unit allowed 17 points. Their starters allowed 7. Yeah. There's no weight behind this game. It does not matter. What's that?
I thought this Tennessee team was overrated. I thought they were. I'm wrong. I was definitely wrong. They're here. They're taking down Alabama was a huge statement, and so will be. I mean, I think they could beat Georgia. I don't know. Tennessee could.
I'm not sold. I'm waiting until November 5th on whether or not I want to actually put some weight behind this Tennessee team. I have them right now in my own polls as the number 1 team, but I don't think college football has had a secure number 1 this whole season. I think every team has a question mark next to their name. Every team has an asterisk, and this Tennessee one still does. I still got to see it because we know last couple of years, the best team to have won, every team that has won the last couple of years has had a good defense. Tennessee does not. You cannot win in college football without a good defense showing up at some point, and they have not had a defense to show up yet.
Yeah,
that's the one question mark I have. Yeah, they have great offense. Number 1 offense in the nation thanks to the beatdown at the FCS.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm waiting. I want to see. My problem is they don't have a good offense. I mean, they don't really have a good offense left on the schedule. That's how I'll word this. Kentucky's offense has fallen off. Georgia doesn't have one. They're fine, but they're definitely not as good as they were last year. So I think Tennessee's defense will probably take care of business in those games. But like I said, I'm just not sold. And if Tennessee beats Georgia, we got a Tennessee-Bama rematch in the SEC championship. Which second time around, I don't think Saban loses. He doesn't lose second time around.
No, it's rare.
If you get him once, you will not get him twice. I don't know the last time it happened. But, Matt, it makes it pretty obvious who the number 1 team in the nation is then, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Here we go, Penn State.
Matt, spread's already set at 15.5 in favor of Ohio State.
Don't matter.
Penn State, they got a top 25 offense right now. I think it's a top 35 defense coming in here. The game has been close. Ohio State hasn't even won in this game by 16 points since 2009 when Jim Tressel was the head coach of the Buckeyes in a 24-7 win. But Penn State's only beaten Ohio State 5 times since the turn of the century. And only once in the last 10 years.
There was a 2013 game.
What's that?
There was that 2013 game where Ohio State really beat them up. Wasn't it like 63 to something?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I remember.
Just double check this.
Say it was like 63 to like 14.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pardon me. So the last win by 16 was 38-10, 2015. I missed that one.
Okay.
But yeah, 63-14 was the 2013 score. Thanks for catching that one. I got to go make a change. But I mean, the Buckeyes statistically now top 5 in defense, number 2 in offense. They've done everything asked ahead of them. But unfortunately, we're out of time here on the Casual Sports Podcast. Power Hour coming up next on your sports network. I'm Alec. That's Matt. We'll see you next time.